So, a US private investigator stood up in the High Court and said under oath that he did unlawful stuff for the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday, including work targeting Prince Harry. So, as you know, Prince Harry, with other claimants, have taken the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday to court, and this is a test case. And they have now got to the stage where the private investigator, a US-based one, that was hired by the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday, is giving evidence. And these are words from his own mouth. So these are not rumors, these are not speculation. This is a witness statement. His name is Daniel Portley Hanks, also known as Detective Dano, and he told the court that he made around $1 million, yes, $1 million, working for Associated Newspapers Limited. That was enough for him to buy a large house in California and sit on $150,000 worth of savings, almost entirely from work. He earned the money entirely from working for the Mail. Now, this was a pipeline for him because it was steady work. And he described himself as the database guy. So if you give him a name or a phone number, and within minutes, he would pull all the private details of the person that the paper was targeting. Oh my God. So basically, he was there for the contacts, he had the records, he had the connections, and he didn't think it was illegal at the time, but he believes now that a lot of what he did was actually unlawful under UK law. I wonder why he suddenly thinks that. And then came the line that should stop everybody scrolling. He said, I know that I did unlawful stuff on Prince Harry, but I cannot recall exactly what. Really? Really? Do you know what I think? I think he knows exactly what he did, but I think he's waiting to see where the judgment goes. And I think he might step out and write a book about it. So I think he's waiting to see how the judgment goes, but I think he knows exactly what he did. That's just my opinion, by the way. So for me, this is not a rogue operator. This is a system story. As I keep saying, it's about a system that allowed this to happen in the first place. Because Daniel said that he worked for the Mail from the early 1990s to around 2013. That's 2 freaking decades. 2 decades of editors calling him, of reporters calling him, of other possible investigators calling him, of reporters, whether they're royal reporters or just ordinary reporters. He was the database guy. He was the guy, he was the contacts guy. He was the guy that had everything stored somewhere. So if I were the lawyer, I'd be asking, where's your database now? Because I want to know. You suddenly do not get rid of a dossier of people you've been investigating just randomly. But let's move on. That is 2 decades of databases, right, that are being queried right now, and 2 decades of private lives that he turned into copy, and 2 decades of private lives that he ruined. Yes, ruined. So when the Levinson inquiry threatened to expose press misconduct, he said the work stopped overnight. So obviously they were scared enough to stop their shenanigans. He then went bankrupt and the tap was turned off, not because he was wrong, but because it was too risky. And that is the tell. That is it. That is a smoking gun as far as I'm concerned. So you stopped because there was an investigation into it. If you knew what you were doing was right, you wouldn't stop, would you? And the papers would have still carried on, wouldn't they? That for me is a tell. But anyway, If it was lawful, it wouldn't have ended. And if it were ethical by any means, it wouldn't have needed hiding. He also alleged something more disturbing, and this is why I've been paying attention to these testimonies. He said that he was once used as part of a payment chain involving a senior police officer connected to documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein. So he was part of a payment chain. Associated newspapers, of course, they deny this. But again, this is a pattern. Another, pattern. I keep saying this. So why does Epstein keep appearing at the intersection of power, media, money, and silence? Why? And why does Princeharry keep being right at the center of attempts to expose all the smears, why? Again, you need to ask yourself these questions, because at the end of the day, all the smear campaigns on Harry, all the things they're trying to dig and expose on him, why? Why have they put him at the center of this? This is why I'm so glad he is doing this, taking them to court, because I'm hoping by way of discovery, he would find out exactly why. And of course he knows who, but he will find out exactly why they were hell bent on destroying him. And I think it's because Harry broke the psychological, maybe the invisible, and maybe some sort of sociological contract with the papers, i.e., we write about you, you keep quiet, you swallow it, you take it, you don't do anything about it. Because if you do, we will come down hard on your family. But Harry stood up to all that nonsense. But anyway, as far as I'm concerned, we know what the unspoken deal is with the family, which is give us access, we give you protection. You play along, we go easy on you. You stay silent, and we make you palatable to the public. But Harry refused because he's a person of principle. That is why they can't rope him in with what's happening right now with the Epstein files. But anyway, as far as I'm concerned, this testimony by Detective Dano or Daniel or whatever, it's not just for himself, but he needs, in my opinion, to apologize to people like Elton John, Elizabeth Hurley, Sadie Frost, Simon Hughes, and Doreen Lawrence, whose life was absolutely destroyed by institutional failure. And let's think about it, especially in the case of Baroness Doreen, a Black British mother who spent decades fighting the corrupt police, now standing in court saying that the Daily Mail did the same to her. So Associated newspapers, of course, they're saying that the allegations of Detective Dano are lurid and preposterous. They're not saying that it's a lie. They say that journalists didn't even know who this man was. Really? And yet, emails were shown in court where editors were asking this Detective Dano to confirm he was acting lawfully, while, according to him, simultaneously telling him on the phone to agree to that statement, even though it wasn't true. So as far as I'm concerned, that's not journalism, that is laundering. And this is why this case matters so much, because once the public understands how the machinery really works, the databases, the payments, the intimidation, the silence, they will realize this isn't just gossip, but this is affecting people's lives, and it could be you tomorrow. But anyway, what do you think? Let me have your thoughts in the comments, please. My name's Elizabeth. I'm the author of The Luxpreneur. And to support my work, please grab yourself a copy today from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or from Waterstones.